In order to live an extraordinary and abundant life, you must focus on your internal battle and win within. My name is Randy Wilson, and welcome to the Rich Mind Podcast. Hello, and welcome back to the Rich Mind Podcast. And as I mentioned on the previous episode, I'm a little bit under the weather as I'm making these recordings, so I apologize for not sounding like my normal self. So hopefully that doesn't detract from the audio experience, or if you're watching this on video. But at the same time, definitely want to show up and bring as much value as I possibly can to you, the listener. So first off, I want to express a ton of gratitude for you showing up with me. There are a lot of options out there in terms of people to listen to, and for you to be here with me at this moment, it really means a lot. So first off, just wanted to express the gratitude for you joining me here on the podcast. And hopefully that I will be able to deliver on some value that you then can implement into your life. So keeping with the theme of the 6-step process for the goal setting and goal achieving that I've discussed in the previous episodes, I want to dive a little bit deeper into the desire piece. And that is the most crucial part in my opinion. Without a burning desire, anything else that comes after it, really, it just falls flat. It falls short. But what I want to caution you with today in today's episode is make sure you're not taking advice from folks that aren't really looking out for your best interest. And I've got a little bit of a story that hopefully will be able to bring that home and resonate with you a little bit better. But what I know for sure is that I have been in the process, obviously, right, of creating this podcast. I'm having a ton of fun doing it, right? The ability to jump on and hit record and have an idea and then express that idea and then share it with the world. It's just, I don't know, it's super cool for me. It's a lot of fun. But when I started the process, I had a goal and I had a mission of trying to convey as best I possibly could. I knew that I was going to not necessarily be very good at the beginning. I felt like I would be able to continue on getting better and better as I moved on. And once I started to going down the road of creation of the podcast, I started to get some feedback, right? I started to get people telling me what I should do or what I shouldn't do. A lot of times it was about, the monetization of the podcast, right? Everybody wants to try to make money with whatever they're trying to do. And, I'm a businessman. I'm a capitalist. So I'm trying to obviously add value to the community, add value to the marketplace. And if a monetization piece comes along with creating the podcast, of course, I'll be, right there to try to accomplish that goal. But that's not the intention, and that's not the initial goal of the podcast. The goal of the podcast is to create massive amounts of value for you, the listener, so that way you can go out there and achieve and accomplish the great things that you have in your life. And if I do that, the other piece will take care of itself. So the story that I want to share with you is that early on, as I mentioned, when I was in the beginning processes of developing the podcast, developing the ideas, developing how I wanted to deliver it, there's some different functions, different things as far as the recording, the editing, the uploading, the stuff, right? The functions of it. And that's the part, and I really am enjoying doing that. And so early on, as people were asking me about the podcast, they're like, well, what do you want to do? How are you going to monetize it? And I flat out told them from the very beginning, I don't have any intention to monetize it. I don't want to go down the path of worrying about how am I going to make money talking to you on the podcast. And I got some pushback from that. I was basically told that might not necessarily be the best thing to do, and that I should probably rethink what my thoughts are for creating the podcast. I couldn't necessarily do something that I enjoyed doing without having a financial goal tied to it. And I pushed back on that idea. And that's the message that I want to bring with you today, is that your desire to create, right, whatever form of life that you want, right? It can be a podcast, it can be a business, it can be a relationship, it can be whatever the goal is. So for me in 2023, it was creating the Rich Mind podcast. I had the idea. I scripted it out as far as I could possibly go, as far as what I thought it would be, and I went to work to create the podcast. When I started to do that, I started to get feedback from other folks trying to persuade me to deviate from my initial goal. That's the piece I want to leave with you today. When you know, when you have a desire, when you know what it is that you want, try to refrain from being distracted, right? We talk about in the third piece about disassociation. Try to refrain from being distracted from things that may or may not be what you truly want, because at the end of the day, it's what you want. It's what I want for this podcast. It's what you want for whatever goal you're trying to achieve. It really doesn't matter what anybody else wants. Now, if you're coming into it and you're being told that what you're doing is negative, or it's hurting people, or hurting yourself, or hurting others, that might be something you might want to pay attention to. But if it's truly a passion project, if it's something that you really enjoy doing, and it's moving you towards a greater purpose, greater goal, makes you feel good about yourself, then don't fall into the trap thinking that you need to be listening to and taking advice from folks that may or may not have your best interest at heart. That would be my encouragement for you today. So today's episode is going to be a little bit shorter. I just want to encourage you to focus on the desire. Ask yourself today, if you haven't done this yet, what is it that you truly want? And I promise you, I know that that's going to be a very difficult answer to come up with. It's been very difficult for me. Let me just say it that way. I have not necessarily been taught that I can do and have whatever it is that I want. There's always been limitations on those things. For me to overcome that belief has been very challenging. So when I was posed the question for the first time of what is it that I truly want, I struggled with that for a very long time. And I'll be honest with you, I still struggle with it today. But start the process. If you begin thinking about what it is that you truly want, you will then be able to start seeing the future, right? You can start seeing things coming into your existence through ideas that you can then begin to implement. And it starts with the desire. So for me, it was probably 2020, 2021, right? When I first had the idea of creating a podcast. That desire led me then to brainstorm and figure out what I wanted to name it, what I needed to do, the people, if I needed people, right? What kind of software I needed, what kind of hardware, the cameras, the microphones, the software, all the stuff. I didn't know what to do. That was, I was starting from scratch. But having that desire, having that something that I wanted very badly led me down the path of figuring out where I'm at today, right? Over 100 episodes in, having a ton of fun, trying to add as much value as I possibly can into your life. And it's been great, but I've had some resistance from outside sources that I've had to push through, because at the end of the day, it's my podcast. And I want to try, if I need to pivot, I pivot. I've changed the way I do the episodes a few times. I've changed the intros and the outros and just the processes, right? I've changed things many times, but that's part of the fun, right? Trying to make it a little bit better. I try to show up and add, as much valuable information as I possibly can. So it's just a lot of fun. So today, to wrap this up, focus on what it is that you truly want. And whenever you figure out what that is, when you get some clarity of the direction that you want to go, don't let outside distractions pull you away from accomplishing what it is that you truly do want. And if you do that, quickly, you're going to be on your way to accomplishing this big goal and this big vision for yourself moving forward. So go out there, have a fantastic day, focus on being great, and just go out there and be you. It's okay to be you. What is it that you want? Not anybody else, but you. And if you do that, if you sit with that thought and those questions, sooner or later, the ideas are going to start flowing into your mind. And when they do, you're going to be in a great place to start taking some action and accomplishing great things in your life. So focus on being great. I look forward to coming back to you with the next episode very soon. Until then, my friends, bye now. Thank you for joining me on the Rich Mind Podcast. And remember, your external world is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. So focus every day on that internal battle and win within. Until next time, my friends.